everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming at you with my review of Happy Gilmore, the 1996 Adam Sandler film that I think is his best straight-up comedy. I don't think it's his best film overall. I'd put movies like The Wedding Singer or Punch Drunk Love above it, but I think as far as actual just straight-up comedy, I think it is by far his funniest and most entertaining. It is definitely the most Adam Sandler movie. I mean, the way in which he has like just absolute rages in it, I mean, it's very much in tune with the guy that you know from like interviews and Saturday Night Live or whatever, where you know he can be very soft spoken, but at the same time when he gets into these rages, it's very Adam Sandler in that regard. And for those of you who don't know what this movie is about, basically he plays a hockey player who's down on his luck. He had these dreams of making it to the big leagues, to the NHL, but he's just not good enough. He's not the best at most aspects of the game, but what he's really great at is he's the perfect enforcer. He goes and when he fights somebody, he just absolutely destroys them because he has such rage within him. But at the same time, that's not good enough, and eventually he gets kind of knocked out and he realizes it's not going to happen, and his financial situation is just absolutely horrendous, and his grandma ends up getting into financial dire straits, and when that's happening, he ends up discovering that he's this golf virtuoso in certain regards. His long game is absolutely fantastic because he's able to tap into that rage, and when he hits it, it goes extremely far. It's short game, not so much, but he ends up using those skills to become a professional golfer, and the film just kind of goes from there. And I think Adam Sandler does a great job in this movie. He's the lead character, he's the protagonist, and he's a character that you definitely come to love. And I thought they did a great job of giving him a story that you can really invest in. The whole idea that he's doing all this in order to try to save his grandma and get her back to her house and be able to take her out of a nursing home that he fears is not a great situation for her. I mean, you definitely come to care about his character and want to see him succeed, but at the same time he's also very funny and entertaining, and I think he does a great job in this movie. And you also have there's so many strong characters in this movie. I mean, Shooter McGavin, he's basically the main antagonist. He's the biggest golfer on the tour. He's the guy who thinks he's the absolute best, and he does not take well to Adam Sandler's character Happy joining the tour because he doesn't feel like he's deserving. He's just kind of like, he sees him as like almost like a sewer rat or that kind of thing, where he's beneath him, and he carries himself with a great deal of grandeur, and he's the total dick, and he's the guy that you don't like in the entire film, and he's very pompous, and the actor who plays him, I believe his name is Christopher Mcdonald, I think he does just an absolutely fantastic job. He's so relatable, and he has some great moments. I mean, there's a line with him about eating a sandwich for breakfast that's absolutely hysterical when Adam Sandler calls him on it, his reaction where he's like, no, just so funny. And Julie Bowen, this is the first movie that I ever became aware of her, who of course is much more famous now for Modern Family, but she's the romantic interest, but she's more than that in this movie. I mean, she works for the PGA, and she's basically the person that's put in charge of Happy, that is there to kind of make sure that he becomes enough of a polished person that they can keep him on TV while also being enough of an interesting guy to draw in the ratings. So she's there to kind of coax him along, and in doing so they end up becoming close, and I thought the chemistry between them was actually quite good, and I really liked the scenes that they play together. They were a believable couple, even though she is significantly more attractive than him. I thought that was very much well done. And Carl Weathers is in this movie, an actor who I absolutely adore, of course, from Predator and the Rocky series. I mean, he's just such a lovable dude, and most of the time you think of him with like the action movies. I mean, the dude started a movie called Action Jackson. I mean, come on now. But to see him in like a straight up comedy like this was very entertaining. He plays Chibbs. He was a former golf pro, and then he was on the tour, but he ended up having his hand bitten off by an alligator, so now he's a golf pro at a local club, and he sees Happy and he decides that he's to take him under his wing and teach him the short game, and just all the scenes with them together are hilarious. Like his exasperation at Happy is palpable in so many different scenes, and the chemistry that they have is very believable. The camaraderie between the two of them, and the fact that also you can tell that Chibbs at first is kind of annoyed by him, and he's there hopefully to get a payday out of all of this and to help him along, but as it goes on, he seems to actually come to care about him a little bit, and then something happens as the film progresses. But I mean, and of course, I mean, the moment that you'll always think of when I think of his character in this movie is when he's doing the all in the hips. I mean, absolutely hysterical. I love him in this, and like I said before, Happy's doing all this to try to help his grandma, and I thought his grandma could not have been better cast. She's this lovable old lady who you've seen in many things, and just always does a great job, and you absolutely want to protect her, and so that's a large portion of the reason why you come to care about the story of this film, because she is such a comes off as such a kindly old lady who needs that protection, especially because she does, like I said, ends up in a nursing home, and there's a nurse there who's played by Ben Stiller who's just sadistic to her, and I thought his character was great, and he's actually somebody who a lot of the time when I think about this movie, I actually kind of forget that he's in it, because again, you know, it's Ben Stiller, he's a pretty big actor, so you would expect him to be much more a part of like the advertisement or like on the poster, so you kind of come to almost forget that he's in it, that he's playing this minor character. But I think it's absolutely perfect that they didn't really bend the movie around him in any stretch of the imagination. They put him in this role that he does absolutely fantastically, where whenever he's dealing with like the family members of the people who live in the nursing home, he's, you know, overly sweet and saccharine and concerned and this nice guy, but as soon as they're gone, he's sadistic and cruel and mean, and you know, the way that he plays both sides of that, you know, he commits to both. He clearly was not at all afraid of looking like a complete jerk on the big screen, which I thought was great. And then Alan Covert, who's an actor who you know, is mostly everybody thinks of him as being the guy in many Adam Sandler movies. He plays a sidekick in lots of flicks, and he also, you know, he ended up getting his own a couple of his own films, but basically he's the Adam Sandler sidekick in a number of his films. He plays the caddy in this movie, who's, you know, he's this homeless guy with big bushy beard, and he's very funny the way that he treats the people, where, like, you know, he's stealing food and all that kind of stuff, and the way people like look at him and they're put off by him, and he's just perfect in the movie because he adds to the whole aspect of Happy, where he's, you know, upending the way people look at the PGA. I thought that was great. And of course, this movie has some notable guest stars in it that I think are great. I mean, you have Bob Barker, of course, who's hilarious. They have the celebrity tour where basically the pro golfers are playing with celebrities, and Happy gets put in with him, and he ends up losing his patience with his anger and his poor short game, and the two of them end up getting in a fight that's absolutely hysterical because it completely plays off of the character that Bob Barker played on TV for all those years, where, you know, he was the game show host, the kindly old man that everybody, you know, thought was so charming and everything like that. So to see him fighting Adam Sandler, especially because he's so much older, it's a fantastic moment. And then Kevin Nealon is also in that same sequence where he's also a fellow PGA player who's basically going around with them as a foursome, and his reactions to Happy are just absolutely hysterical. And it's not necessarily in the same sequence, but he's in the same sequence as another cameo. That's Joe Flaherty, who is an actor who I've always loved. He was from SCTV. Hysterical dude. I wish got a lot more out of his career. I mean, he's absolutely respected, so I mean, I'm sure he's very satisfied, but I just love to see him in more things. I mean, Freaks and Geeks is absolutely fantastic as well, and he plays this guy that Shooter McGavin pays off to hassle Happy as he's playing in that game with Kevin Nealon, and the way he keeps calling him a jackass and over again, and you know, waits till he's in his backswing and then yells jackass at him. I mean, it's absolutely hysterical, and that's why Kevin Nealon gets so frustrated with him, and Barker does, and all that. I mean, it's just such a funny moment. I love Joe Flaherty, and it's absolutely hysterical, and the way he's so perfectly annoying at it, and it just has. I absolutely adore it. And then there's another actor in it who you've seen in a number of movies. I don't know his name. Basically, his defining characteristic is that he's very, very tall. He's probably about 7 foot, or maybe even slightly taller than that. And he plays like a big fan of Happy Gilmore's. And the moment like where he's running after Shooter as the film progresses, and you know, he goes down to like, dude. I mean, it's just such a great movie. I love this movie. I think it's a heck of a lot of fun. There's lots of memorable moments, and it's just a great flick to check out. And if you haven't seen it because you're late to the game or whatever, I definitely advise you to. So those are my thoughts on Happy Gilmore. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. If you agree with me that it's his best comedy, if you haven't seen it somehow, whatever. Other than that, please hit that like button, hit that share button. It makes it much more likely that other people come check out this video and let me know what they think, which would be awesome because I love talking to people about movies. Speaking of which, if you are new here or you just haven't done it yet, please hit subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you find out when I put out a new video. You can come check it out, give me that feedback, and we can have that back and forth. It would absolutely mean the world to me. Aside from all that though, have yourself a good day.